All right. So, hello, everybody. We are back. And now I am going to introduce Sandel Morse. And her topic is accessing memory, writing into the gaps. Sandel is a prize-winning author of the memoir, The Spiral Shell. A French village reveals its secrets of Jewish resistance in World War II. She has, her nonfiction has been noted in the Best American Essays series and published in Creative Nonfiction, Plowshares, the New England Review, Fourth Genre, Ascent, Solstice. I mean, wow, you've got some really impressive publication credits here. Sandel is also a Tennessee Williams Scholar at the Sewanee Writers Conference, an associate artist at the Atlantic Center for the Arts, a resident at the, I hope I'm going to say this right, Hinoaks Artist Colony, a fellow at the Virginia Center for Creative Arts, an instructor at the English Department of the University of New Hampshire, and a visiting lecturer in the English Department at the University of Maine at Farmington. She's taught workshops in many places. And she was also a silver medalist in the Sarton Awards in 2020. Good for you. All right. So Sandel, welcome. I'm delighted you're here. And I'm going to just let you take it from here.
Okay.
And I will mute myself and close off my video. Go ahead.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Len. Thank you, Liz. I am just thrilled and honored to be here. And probably the greatest honor was being a finalist in the Sarton Award. This workshop is going to be a little bit different from what went before, and I hope you have some energy left, because we're going to really be hands-on and writing. But before we begin, I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about how and when I started writing, and a little bit about how I came to write this memoir, The Spiral Shell. I tend to like back doors or side doors. I never kind of face anything straight on. And I was a teacher for many, many years in a rural school in New Hampshire when I decided that I needed a master's degree because I was bored. And I didn't want an education degree. I wanted something else. So I learned that Dartmouth had a Master of Arts in Liberal Studies, and that was fairly close to where I was living at the time. And so I went. I was not a writer. I was probably about either 39 or 40. And I completed my first summer and I loved it. And then my second summer, I decided I would take a class taught by Ishmael Reed, because he had taught a wonderful literature class the summer before. And if you don't know Ishmael Reed, he's a novelist, an essayist, a playwright, a publisher, an editor, and he's still teaching at I think it's at the University of California in Berkeley. And his specialty, he wrote about little known stories of Africans and African Americans, and he's very political, and he's a satirist. So I walked into this room, and it was a small room, and it had that telltale round table with chairs. And I looked at him and I said, "Is this literature?" And he said, "No, it's fiction writing." And I said, "Oh, I don't write fiction." And he said, "How do you know?" And I said, "I guess I don't." And he said, "Sit down." So that has kind of been my story as a writer, probably as a person as well. And that is to jump into the unknown. Something very similar happened when I began writing this book. So I was like 42, maybe 3 when I left Dartmouth. And I really did become a writer. I even took myself to the University of New Hampshire and I got a master's in fiction writing. And I wrote and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote novels and I wrote a memoir and I had agents. And I kind of looked at myself as the bridesmaid, but never the bride. And I decided that I would write essays. And in 2011, I was awarded a residency in Auvillard at a small writers' colony called Moulin à Neuf, which is owned and operated by the Virginia Center for the Creative Arts. And that's exactly where I am right now. I'm in residence at the VCCA in Virginia. And so I needed work. I needed new work. So I began to research the village and I discovered that the village was on the pilgrimage route to Santiago del Compostela in Spain. Well, I knew the pilgrimage routes were most likely Crusaders' routes as well. And whenever I, as a Jewish woman, think about Crusaders, I think about Jews. And then I began thinking about the village's Second World War Jewish history. And I went to see a dear friend who was a rabbi and chatted with him about what I was going to do and where I was going and blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, if you're interested in that subject, I have someone for you to meet. And he introduced me to Valerie Fert, who lived in Paris, was a Jewish historian, and spoke fluent English. And Valerie introduced me to a woman named Germaine Polyakov, who was 92 at the time. And she worked in a house that protected Jewish refugee children. And if anyone other than me as narrator of my memoir is a main character, it was Germaine. And so as I fell into that door and started writing fiction, I fell into this memoir and started chasing stories. And for those of you who subscribe to Never Give Up, my memoir came out in April of 2020, and I was 81 at the time. So do not give up. So what we're going to do today in this workshop is try to come in to our writing through the side door or through the back door. But first, I'd like us to take a few minutes to find out who we are. And I'd love everyone to just type, if you don't have to, if you feel like it, type your name and where you are right now into the chat. And let's see who we are. So, whoa, Cottisford, England. How cool is that? Lots of Texas. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome to everyone. And I don't know if we can open up for a few voices, maybe for a few minutes. I'd love to know what you're working on right now and what you might like to get out of today's workshop. I don't know if that's possible. We have quite a few people, but let's give it a try, Liz.
Shanice, if you would like to talk, and you need to unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Chancey, and I write science fiction about cultures, sometimes human, frequently alien, who are living in right, wholesome relationship with each other and their environment. I think most people can't really imagine what it would look like for humans to do that. So I'm trying to give them the experience of having that.
Thank you. Thank you. And of course, I think some of you already might be doing this. You're welcome to put it in the chat as well, so we can read it. Okay, and I can read some out of the chat. My mother's story of escaping from Belgium during the Holocaust. Okay, Linda. So the Spiral Shell is kind of a Holocaust story. Memoir and family history, memoir of death experiences, history of family business, sequel to memoir, historical. Oh, these are so interesting. I love it. I love it. So I hope you're ready to just forget about any structure or any analysis of your work, and let's just jump in. What I'm hoping for this hour is that it will either fit into something that you're already working on, or that it will become the basis of a larger piece. And what I'm hoping is why I'm calling it writing into the gaps. I kind of think of reflection as the gap that we need to fill in or write in. And for me, reflection is the lifeblood of memoir, or memoir, personal essay, that sort of personal writing. So just to warm up, let's do the five senses. Let's do I see, I hear, I smell, I touch, I taste. What you are absolutely experiencing at this moment, wherever you are. Now I'm going to write along with you. Okay. So here I'd love to see if we can have a few people who would like to share.
Hey, Jan, you can go ahead. You need to unmute yourself and then you can talk.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I did this assignment the way you're intending, I see leaves clapping out my window. I taste chocolate leftovers from a small piece of See's candy. I hear my neighbor walking upstairs. I touch my pencil moving quickly. I smell ragweed pollen. This is Austin in fall.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Thank you, Jan. Is anyone else?
Hi there. Okay, I'm gonna find it now. Where is it? I see a lovely, very real looking fire in a gas fireplace, and it's cold and blowy out, and so rainy. Oh, and so rainy and so windy outside that the house is shaking. I feel my jeans, which are wet at the thighs and the knees because I was just out in this weather taking the dogs for a walk, and my raincoat wasn't long enough. I hear the fireplace flames reaching up the chimney. I smell Rufus, my 85-pound sheepadoodle who smells like a wet dog. I taste my McDonald's Diet Coke, which I'm addicted to.
Oh, so great. So you've actually started narrative in there as well, Rosemary. Okay, mine is I see my face in a square. I look down, I look up. I smell nothing. Nothing I can identify. The air is neutral. I taste the dregs of my coffee. I hear a slight buzz in my ears. The room, my hearing aids. I feel the presence of my I feel the pressure of my fingers, pen to paper. So the chat, shall I read those?
You
Uh,
can, if you like. Can you, Brenda, I think is the first one.
I see Brenda. Okay, I have Brenda's. Uh, Fall color in the valley, warmth from sun, lime from my by drink, trees rusting in the wind. Oh, I love these. Cocoa taste with a hint of cracker, smoky smell of a pipe, quiet with tinnitus, keyboard against fingertips, gray and white and black type on the screen. I see sunlight, I touch smooth glass, I taste forbidden chocolate, I hear voices and meows. Well, I can't figure out, but Rosemary, you did figure out. So that's great. I see sunshine in the garden. I hear the jangle of dishes as hubby prepares lunch. I taste candy corn. Yes, I got into Halloween candy. I touch pen to paper. I smell cat litter that needs to be changed. So I just think that these are absolutely wonderful, and you're great. You're all writers, and we'll move along to one more exercise before we get into what I call the main event. And I'd like you to write a shopping list. And somebody's coming to dinner. Your mother, your ex-boyfriend, your brother, your boss, your grandchild, your long lost friend. And I'd like you to make a shopping list of what items you would buy to please them. Think beyond food, and just let your imagination carry you. So we'll just have a couple minutes to do this one as well. Shopping list. Okay, let's see what we can do with this one. You know, I had a little trouble with this one. I only got one, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I only have 6 items. Let's see what you all did with it. And we can use the same method as to raising your hand in the chat, and then you can unmute yourself when you're called on. I think, Lynn, you're keeping track of this.
Yes, and Jan, I have unmuted you. I mean, yeah,
Okay.
I have unmuted you. Go ahead.
Okay, and I would like to say one thing, Len. You called me Jan Marquette, and then you said you wasn't sure you said my name right, and it's Marquardt.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I really didn't do a good job on that.
That's okay, everybody says that. Okay, so this was a shopping list for an old college friend who's coming to see me, and I haven't seen her in 25 years. So I would buy flowers, new lace tablecloth, new cloth napkins, new guest soaps, bottle of red and white wine, and a piece of jewelry my friend Zosha Hunt makes.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, let's move right on.
Okay, Sarah, Rickman, I'm gonna, I think I'm allowing you to talk right now. Oh, here we go. Unmute yourself, Sarah.
Thank you. That was the message I was looking for. Okay, very similar, an old college friend, fellow writer, fellow English major, many, many years later. Johnny Walker Black Label, a really good sharp cheese, nut thin crackers. I'll stream Chopin Nocturnes for background music. They're nice and soft, and 2 chicken pot pies.
Wow, so good. What I love is that the juxtaposition of the kind of special things and then obviously a very favorite meal for the two of you. Lovely.
And those are bought whole from Safeway. Thank you.
Like that too. Nobody has to really do the work.
Exactly.
I am going to read some that are in the chat. Let's see. Oh, I'm getting to them. Oh, here we go. Scarlet lilies with a wonderful scent, fake logs to help start a fire in the wood fireplace, a big round brie cheese to bake in the oven, and fig cheese to serve with it. New sparkly earrings to match my outfit. These are so wonderful because they have the juxtaposition of things that you might not necessarily think go together, and you've all not stuck to like the foodie thing, and you've really expanded. Wendy, I see you're unmuted. Why don't you just go ahead?
Okay, fresh flowers for centerpiece, wine recommended by my friend who actually drinks wine, brie with apricot preserves and sweet crackers as an hors d'oeuvre, pork chop and French bread for dressing, fresh green veggie imported or in season.
Lovely, lovely. A lot of us here are on the same wavelength. Olive oil and tomatoes and avocado, a bread with taste. Love it. Resting on couch before, walk after, apple scallops, a yam, 1 hot pepper to make it mine. Beautiful. Okay, I'll read a couple more. For a visit from my mom, syrupy wine, ingredients for cabbage rolls, a copy of Auntie Name, is that Mame maybe? A frame for pics of my kids and grandkids and a cozy blanket. Fresh flowers to dance in every room, spicy cinnamon candles, and lots of organic veggies, best friend for 60 years. I'm going to just skip around a little bit. And let's see. And then just because, tips and cotton squares, Virgin of Guadalupe candles with beef bone broth, frozen bags. I don't know might be something missing there. Almond milk that will foam for cappuccino, real bagels. Yeah, Brenda, to respond to you, it is interesting that this group of women are focused on food and drink. But then the thing is, I did ask you to do a shopping list, and I think that probably that's what clicks in. You guys are great. You really are. And I chose this exercise because I did it myself in a workshop, and I got an essay out of it that is up right now in an online magazine. And I will share that with you at the end, but I didn't want to prejudice you in any way before we started. And I figured if I could get something out of this, then maybe most anybody could get something out of this. But you always have options, and I will go into those after I talk about this. So one of the options is to write a eulogy to a favorite article of clothing. And eulogies are usually written in the third person. So you would be writing about this dress, but you would, or this shirt, or this whatever, but you would still be like the main character. This is nonfiction in whatever you're writing. So it might be a pair of shoes, and it might be a blouse. It might be a pair of trousers. What I would really like you to do is see that image of that thing, and then also put it into a place. So where were you when you were wearing this thing? And who were you with when you were wearing this thing? Or were you alone when you are wearing this thing? I'd like you to imagine the event then, which is the place and what was happening and why you were wearing this thing and why you'd chosen that thing. But I'd like you to really go with it freely. And if anything pops up in your mind and the present moment comes back, take it, don't dismiss it. And if you want signals for how to incorporate the present moment, you can use phrases like "I came to know," or "many years later," or "if I had," or "I still think about," anything that you think might signal the reader that the reader is no longer with that dress in that time, in that place, but has leapt back into the present. So if that doesn't appeal, oh, here we go with food, folks. Write about a certain food and what that moment meant to you. A certain food in a certain time, in a certain moment, in a certain place, and see that food and see yourself there. So years and years ago, when I was engaged to my husband, he took me to visit an elderly aunt in New York City. And she was a very elegant woman, but at the time she had a very tiny apartment. She had no dining room anymore and so forth. But we ate our lunch at a folding table in the living room, but everything else was totally elegant. And there, sitting on a plate in front of me, was this thing, and I didn't even know what the thing was called, but it was called an artichoke. And so I would write probably about that moment. You can also write about a moment perhaps that divided your life into before and after. And I think there are many moments like that. I don't think there's just one moment. So Liz, maybe you could put some of these options in the chat. I'm not real good about typing in the chat. I could try. What do you think?
I'll type them up for you real quick.
Okay. So the first one, write a eulogy to a favorite article of clothing. The second one, write about a certain food and what that moment meant for you. The third one, a moment that divided your life into before and after. I'm going to give you a full 10 minutes for this, and we can check in after that. Okay. 307, 306. $314. Let's see, one more minute, folks. Okay, so once again, I'd like to invite you to put your writing into the chat and also to raise your hand if you would like to share with your voice. Go ahead, Zosia.
Hi, and it's Zosha.
Zosha, thank you.
Zosha. It is one of the hardest things I have done, sweet dress, to give you up after 25 years of faithful service, and you have served me well. It was an open air market, so common around the ruinas and cenotes that abound in the Yucatan, that I noticed you. A simple dress of unbleached cotton with hand embroidery on its yoke front and back. What beautiful handiwork, the flowers done in crewel, a simple garland. I wanted it. It was inexpensive, just a few pesos. Why did I feel compelled to bargain for it? Was it a custom that one had to haggle over everything at an open air market in Mexico? A must not to pay too much? The pretty girl agreed to my offer with a resigned shrug. It lasted all these years without a sign of wear, but it got to be too small for me eventually. Goodbye.
Zosia, that is wonderful. If you, it's truly the beginning of a piece, and I think you really have something. If I might suggest that you begin with the open air market and where you first saw that dress, and then bring us to, as you do at the end, but then come into the 25 years. And you might also do something very interesting with the too small. And that might be a point for writing into that gap and for reflection. And I just throw that out there as a thought.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Eileen, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to talk next, please. Okay, Eileen is there and I think she's unmuted.
Okay, let me see if I can get it. Um, Each season calls me to move clothes from one closet to another. I weed out the things I didn't wear as recommended, but you always get moved from one closet to the other. Each spring, I take you out with the hope that I can zip up the back of the dress, and each winter, you go back with the hope for another chance next year. 20 pounds and 10 years ago was the last time I wore you to the rehearsal dinner as mother of the bride. You remind me of the joy that day. Your anniversary is next week. Your hemline is back in style and would hit my leg at just the right curve. New boots would be perfect to update you. No one would know but me. I wouldn't tell. If only I could get that zipper up.
Oh, Eileen, I love it. Only thing I would suggest is you go back to the first thing we did with the 5 senses and put those in there. Because we can't really see that dress yet.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Nice, nice. Someone else?
Sarah, Rickman, I'm going to allow you to talk now. Just one second. What just happened? Sarah.
Oh,
Where-
sorry.
Yeah, hold on, sorry. Liz and I are both clicking and I don't know what happened to Sarah. There she is. Allow to talk. There you go, Sarah.
I took my hand down because I did talk last time, but anyway, thank you for the opportunity.
There you go. You got it.
Okay. My red kerchief, symbol of excellent horsemanship at Trails End Ranch for girls when I was 16. Worn proudly at Sunday service at the open air chapel up on the hill overlooking the wagon yard. We lived 4 to a covered wagon in a sort of circle beyond the lodge and the camp office. 4 years I had waited for this coveted award. I wore it so very proudly. I was one of the girls, horses and all. The red kerchief is nowhere to be found. The child of Depression parents who throws nothing away cannot find that symbol of 6 exquisitely happy summers so very long ago.
Sarah, nice. I like that kerchief, that red kerchief, and I'd bring that more front and center if I were you. And I try to concentrate on that a little bit first and see where that might lead you. Start with that and then right around that and see where that leads you.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Elaine Thomas, I'm going to allow you to speak because you requested to speak in the chat box. There you go. You need to unmute, Elaine.
Thank you. The homemade wine at the Catholic Church feast auction was referred to as fruit juice. Wink, wink. I'd let several bottles of wild Texas Mustang grapefruit juice get away from me. The $60 to $75 bids set me back. Did I really want to spend that kind of money for homemade wine when I rarely bought grocery store brands that cost more than $10? Oh, okay. This was a fundraiser and I would be donating to the church, right? Right. I resolved that the next bottle of homemade fruit juice that came up for bid was mine. I didn't have to wait long before a bottle of beautifully clear amber fruit juice was held up for the crowd's inspection. It was persimmon wine. Not being a native Texan, I wasn't intimately familiar with persimmons, although I had noticed the bright orange balls hanging in small trees in people's yards in the fall. Well, I jumped in with a $10 bid, but the run up in price was not as energized as it has been for the grape juice. I won the wine for $35. And that evening we pulled the cork and we poured the liquid gold in the glasses. When it hit my tongue, I gagged. I'd never tasted anything so bad. It was tart and horrible. And it took me many years to trust a persimmon again. But what I found, now that I've been in Texas longer, is if they had just waited for the persimmon to look like it was rotten and made the wine then, I'd have loved it.
Nice. I love the way you bring the present in, and I love all the wine. There's a lot of great detail about the wine. I'd love to see the setting a little more. Like you seated, where you're seated in the auction, who's near you, anything that you can think of to just so that you can locate your reader in exactly the place where you are.
Thank you.
Jan, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to talk. And go ahead and unmute.
Unmute it. All right. It says I am muted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. You looked as a negligee, slinky, revealing no low neckline. I wore you down the aisle, maid of honor in my sister's wedding, her wedding 2 months after my college graduation. At the wedding, you danced and you made me laugh, made me look gorgeous. Unexpectedly, you were upstaged by the wedding gown. And when guests asked me how I felt about my kid sister getting married before me, did I want to be a spinster? Wasn't I sad about my life? Wasn't I sad that I didn't have a boyfriend? I held you tight to hold myself together. Every time I looked at you, I cringed until the morning I swept you in my arms, walked you to the dumpster, and threw you in. A dress well lived.
Well, the ending is amazing. It's wonderful. I think that what you've done is you've done a lot of narrative. So why don't you try it by again focusing on what that dress looked like and where you were, and then just bring in things like the bride's dress, if you cared to, within the context of the scene and where you were. I know that Lynn talked a lot about scene, and scene's really important in all writing, memoir, nonfiction, as well as in fiction. But what she was talking about is wonderful. It comes afterwards. It's your analysis of what you're doing. So just concentrate. Don't try to do everything she says, but just kind of see with your own eyes and smell and taste. And then later, once you get those moments, you can go back and think about craft.
Okay, thank you.
Lucy, would you like to read yours? Because I can let you speak. Would you like to do that? Oh, I don't know. I'm going to let you speak, and then you can tell me if that's what you would like to do.
No, thanks.
Okay. Do you see, Sandel, do you see Lucy? She's written one.
I do. I see that in the chat. Yes. So would you like me to read it?
Yes, why don't you read it?
Okay. You were my uniform for 10 years, old friend, and you are torn and faded. You hang on me like a king-size sheet. And now, after my venture into a healthy life, and now you will take on a more active role. You will clear away the dust from treasured artifacts. You will absorb paint spills in my studio, and you will remain in my life forever. I love it, Lucy. Again, go back to the visual, the five senses, and let me see the uniform. And I love that you hang on me like a king-size sheet now after my venture into a healthy life. And again, more visual throughout. Beautiful ending. And you will remain in my life forever. Lovely.
Brenda, you have written a little bit in the chat, and I'm wondering if you'd like to read yours.
Oh, yeah, she raised her hand.
She raised her hand. Okay, but what happened? Liz, can you?
Mhm.
Okay. There you go, Brenda. Unmute yourself, please. There you-
Okay, did that work?
Yes.
Can you hear me? You can hear me. Well, mine is about the before and after, not about clothing. Is
Great.
that okay?
Great.
All right. And not a finished product. It's too soon, my daughter-in-law cried as they wheeled her toward delivery. 3 babies inside of her refused to stay put any longer. I told her all would be well, but I knew what she did, that this premature cesarean probably meant deficits for her children, my triplet grandchildren, and nothing in our lives would ever be the same. 3-pound babies led to 3 years of life and death situations in one hospital or another. And then I've got a list that I plan to put in a narrative later. House full of machines and oxygen lines, medication and surgery schedules on the refrigerator, a new freezer to hold all the breast milk, a nervous, sleep-deprived father packaging and labeling that breast milk pumped from a stressed out mother, the father taking care of ever-changing, super long medication schedules.
Really a fascinating moment. I would dwell on that moment at the beginning a bit more and about what you see, how you feel. I mean, I can't imagine, of course, I have 3 sons, I didn't have a daughter, but anyway, I can't imagine being present as my daughter was wheeled into delivery. And I'd like to know, like, the time. When was it? What was the month? How many months was she along? How premature? Did she know, and did you know that this would be a cesarean? That sort of thing. So set that up more at the beginning and then go into the hardships, because that really is a life-changing moment.
Sure. Thank you much.
We are about 3 minutes from the time that we need to finish. So would you like to take questions during this time, or?
Oh, I would love to. Yes. I'm sorry I didn't end a little sooner, but I'd love to take any questions that are there.
Okay. Growing up in a dysfunctional family, I never experienced many experiences that were normal for other teens. But finally, I was going away to college to another state, escaping into freedom without any skills in how to handle it. My father, mother, and I drove from Iowa to Ohio, and they hung around for 2 days of orientation that ended in an afternoon tea for the departed parents. My mother glared at my short shorts, tie-dyed blouse, and flip-flops, and then snarled bitterly, "At least you could wait until I've left before dressing like that." For one final time, I rushed to change into a pretty floral dress and high heels.
Wow. So there's the moment for reflection. Would you do that now, or would you change for someone now? How did you feel about, you can do it from that moment as to why you did that, or you can do it from a looking back moment and how you felt about that. That was what struck me, that for one final time. Great.
And then Tina Games has written, "I love how this workshop inspired so many wonderful pieces. Thank you."
Oh, my pleasure. So I think, unless anyone has a question or a comment, I will tell you that I have loved being with you, that I wish I could have seen your faces, and that I wish I could have been with you in person, but maybe there'll be another opportunity. So thank you all so much.
Well, thank you, Sandel. That was really wonderful. And I would certainly love it if you would consider as either teaching a class for us or doing a webinar in the future, because I think it's clear that everyone is responding to you, and I loved your supportive comments, as well as critical comments, and positively critical comments, as well as those wonderful prompts. The prompts were really exceptional. I loved them. And whoops, just a minute. I'm sorry. I just clicked on, I clicked accidentally on that link and that takes you straight to your
That gets taken to the piece. And I do want to say that I am open to folks contacting me, and it's so that I know who you are. Do put Story Circle in the subject line. I'm also, you can get to me through my website or very easily.
Okay.
So,
Very, very good. And yes, Susan Scotch, Susan, unfortunately, we can't read yours right now, but she is saying, "Ooh, I really hope that you'll do some teaching for us in the future." Absolutely.
thank you.
So thank you so much. That was really, and I think it was the perfect thing to this afternoon of spending time actually writing and sharing. I think that just worked out perfectly. So thank you.